Today I'm going to talk about something for which I've received a number of requests, and that is basic pen care. How do you care for your pen? How do you keep it in an optimal condition? I'm not going to talk about cleaning pens because I have a video on extensive pen cleaning, but this is just, general care for your pen. Alright, so I collect samurai swords. You can see one, whoops, there it is, right behind me, an Odachi and a Naginata type of polearm. There's quite a bunch more. Now you want to see them, okay. Whoop, there we go. There's a number of them on my wall. Okay, back we go. Now, we still have swords from Japan from the 1600s. Why? Because samurai cared for their equipment, and of course swords broke in battle, but according to the samurai, a sword is something that is eternal, because when you are dead, the sword, if it's not broken, will still be alive and can be passed on to your children and their children, etc. So they took good care of their equipment. Of course, they also took good care of their equipment because their lives depended on it, but just the general idea. Here we have a Parker 75 Gaudron, which is nice and shiny, and I got this from my grandfather. I inherited this from my grandfather, and he's had this for many, many years, and he took good care of it, and it is in pristine condition. Here we have a Parker 25 Flighter, which is actually just a little bit newer than the 75. I got this from eBay. It was sold to me as being in writing condition, and it wasn't. I had to re-sack the arometric converter. Now, okay, that happens. The rubber sac deteriorates at some point. But when I took out the feed, I was in for a shock, because the feed was crusted. It was literally encrusted with black-blue ink. There were just bits of dried ink falling from the pen. It was terrible, so I had to do a lot of work to restore this pen. Even now, it's not a great writer, but it does write. And that's the difference. So if you take good care of your pen, you can give your grandchildren a pen that writes, and if you don't, then even after 10 or 20 years, maybe 30 years, but you will end up with a pen that could write one word and then stop because it is full of dried up ink. Okay, now, when I'm talking about pen care, I'm mainly talking about taking care of the exterior of your pen, not so much the cleaning of the insides of the pen. As I said, I've done a separate video on that. So today we talk about taking care for the outside of your pen. How do you do that? Well, I think there's a couple of things, simple things that you will need. One of the first items that's very useful to keep your pen in a good condition is what I call a pen backpack. And that is a backpack that can be worn by a pen. So when I take my pen, it wears its backpack and it comes with everything it needs. So, for example, in there is a polishing cloth. It's not actually a polishing cloth, it's just a cloth, but it will help the pen if it has an accident, in there is also, for some, emergency maintenance, a bunch of cartridges, which you can stick in there straight away. After all, accidents do happen, and bottled ink is nice, but on the road, it's a little bit different. Now, this is actually something to keep your pen in good condition, because, of course, when carrying a heavy backpack, it will, be strong. You also need to take care of your pen's night, sleep, rest. It needs to rest at night. So one thing you need, I've got one here, this is from Faber-Castell, is a fountain pen bed. You open it up like this, and then in there is a pillow and, of course, a blanket. What you do is you put the pen in there, and then you cover it up with the blanket, and then your pen can go to sleep. And a good night's rest will make sure it writes better in the morning. Now, especially if you have young pens, you have to be really careful about that. Right, then we have, of course, your pen needs exercise. So what you can do, what I recommend you do, is you get a leash and a collar. And you can put your collar around the pen's cap or the neck or whatever you like. This pen is called Jim, so I'm not sure how well you can read that, but it actually says Jim. And you can take your pen, for a walk, and it will stay on the leash, so it can't run away from you and get crushed under a car. Right. Finally, if I'd say something to improve the lifespan of your pen, if you've inked it up, Imagine I've just inked this one up. This is very important. Just inked it up, you put it on your shoulder, and you tap it gently. Alright. Okay. Satire. This was not actually what I do to my pens. I'm crazy, but not that crazy. So what do you need? Let's be serious for a second. What do you need? Well, actually, I don't think you need that much. I think there are two accessories that are very useful, and I think that one of them you already have. That's a pen pouch. If you don't have one, consider getting one. You can store your pens. This is the pen I carry, the pouch I carry every day. It's also a good idea to keep your pens in a pouch and not just throw them in a desk drawer. Now, of course, if you have hundreds of them, you may have an issue, but you know, you protect your pens in a pouch. That way they don't rub against each other and they don't scratch. Another accessory that's very useful is a bulb syringe. Yes, I finally got one of these US style syringes. I couldn't get this in Europe, but maybe I didn't look hard enough. In any case, I got this. I show you how to use a bulb syringe in my pen cleaning video. You fill it up with water, you put it in the section, and you flush it through. That's a very useful accessory. Now, the final thing that you may or may not have, and I think that really is a sensible accessory, is a polishing cloth. This one is by Yard Lead. I got this with my Retro Grand, but you can also buy these things separately, not just from Yard Lead, but I mean in general. You can just go to your jeweler's and you can buy this. Now, this has actually two parts, so that's a cloth, inner cloth. The inner part is meant to remove tarnish. So if you have a pen, you can just gently, rub it like this with the inner cloth, and it removes tarnish. And then you use the other part to give it a bit of a nice shine, and that's all there's to it. So as you can see, the pen does really shine. Now, you can buy these cloths, and you can also buy specific paste, which is a bit abrasive, and that may also bring out the shine in a pen. For example, you can buy that from richardspens.com, the site of Richard Binder. I always thought it was Binder if I ever said that in a video, and then apparently I was wrong. It seems to be Binder. In any case, you can buy the cloth, you can buy the bulb syringe and a good pen pouch, and that's pretty much all there's to it. If I want to clean an acrylic pen, of course, I got one lying around here. So this is acrylic. Usually, I think there are actually some people who use this to give it a nice shine. I've never tried it. I'm always a bit afraid I will scratch my pen. So I just use a simple lint-free cloth. You can buy these things for cleaning purposes, etc. I got this with a pair of glasses. You just use that to wipe your pen, get off the fingerprints, and that really works well. It gives it a shine. And that's all there's to it. Now, there was one specific question someone had. Is it necessary to store your pens with the nib upright? Well, I think that's a good idea if your pens are inked up, because these are. And of course, you can imagine that if your pen is inked up and you put it in, you store it like this, ink may go to the nib. I don't think it's a big issue. If you store them like this with the nib down, then you may actually have a problem at some point, but unless you're an astronaut, I don't think there's a very large probability you could do that. When the pens are empty, I see no reason why you should store them nib upwards, because there's no liquid in them. There's nothing that could affect them in any way, so I don't really see why that would be an issue. So I think you can just store them horizontally. That's what I do when they're empty, and I've never had any problems with it. So that's all there's to it. I hope I didn't bore you to death. I hope this was a little useful, and that's all there's to it. So, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.